What's up, guys? How we doing? A little late Wednesday link action. You can tell I still don't have the camera. Well, I have the camera. It's just not working.
Still having camera issues. New camera, too. That's still not working.
Yeah.
Gotta like that.
It's still not working, unfortunately. I don't know why, but I'm going to get it figured out. I will say that. And good news, we were talking about this before. I think we figured out the whole audio issue that we had previously. So it's like, one step forward, two steps back. But there's at least something there. Appreciate everybody, though, hanging out nonetheless. We still have to hop on here and, obviously talk about everything else. The problem is, Thomas, and I didn't actually mention this before, I'm going to keep looking up because my camera's right there.
Yeah.
And so it's normal to look that way, but I should look down. So anyway, how are you doing on this late Wednesday evening?
I'm doing good. I had a very interesting day. Obviously, while you were going and buying a camera, I went up and jumped on and broke the Bryce Huff news on YouTube, and a lot of very interesting comments on that one as well, Josh. And I'm fascinated to get your take because I've been informed by my lovely comment section that it is not big news. It's not even news at all that Bryce Huff is having wrist surgery. He'll be out for probably the rest of the regular season is my guess. It's not a big deal. He sucks anyway. Who cares? Why are we talking about it? Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's actually it was funny because you texted me that too, and whenever I was like, I don't know how that's not news. I'm really struggling to compute where that's not news at all. If we want to say like, is it like atrocious news? Is it going to like have the defense fall off a cliff? No, but
Sure.
It's still like you don't want to lose any. I mean, you could name any player out there, right? Like, okay, hey, so and so is going to be out for potentially the rest of the regular season. Not good news. Like, that's just like, I mean, what are we? No one's wishing for it, but someone's happy that he's going out there. Like, I know we had the James Bradbury comments, before, and like, get him out of just whatever it takes to have another player, but it's still not to the exact same extent. It's like a. Has Bryce Huff done much? No. It was 6 snaps against Jacksonville, 14 against 14 against the Commanders, and like 12 in Dallas, something like that. So
Yeah.
not playing significant snaps, but yeah, like Bryce Huff, he'd helped you occasionally. He was definitely became your situational pass rusher. Was not a hey, put him out there for run stopping downs and things like that. I don't know. I mean, it's something. It's not nothing. It's something. Josh B says Thomas is so much louder than Josh now. Okay, well now we've got the reverse effect of that. But
are you able to turn me down, or should I turn myself
either
down?
Either one. I mean, I can, or if
you got it,
to,
go for it.
Okay, I'll turn it down. Maybe we even this thing out.
We got all sorts of tech problems on these lives now.
We're getting this thing figured out at some point, I guess. But yeah, hey, and shout out to Anthony DeBona. He's here in the chat. He says Jalyx Hunt season is upon us, and that's what it is. We got Jalyx Hunt and Nolan Smith, of course. Can't forget Nolan Smith.
I guess I'm just surprised because it's not like Bryce Huff wasn't doing anything. His snaps obviously went down, but his production had technically gone up. I mean, he, at one point, I believe it was the Cowboy game, was the highest graded Eagle pass rusher. The problem was it's only 12 snaps. And a lot of us, including myself, were thinking, oh, well, they're just demoting him to purely playing third down and long pass rush situations. And I'm starting to think that this wrist injury has been pretty serious. We obviously knew there was something there. He had it all wrapped up. But at the same time, he was starting to figure things out. When he put both hands into the dirt and actually knew that a pass was coming, he was getting some pressure. I mean, go back and watch the Giants film. There was definitely some stuff jumping off the screen, and I really believe he was going to start to snowball, start to figure things out, not become worth $17 million a year. That's already been dumped into the drain. But being a good situational pass rusher, which honestly, I mean, Josh, that's what Philadelphia's edge rushers are besides Josh Sweat. He's really the only true starter that they have. They bring in Brandon Graham for certain plays. They bring in Nolan Smith for certain plays. They brought in Bryce Huff for certain plays. They were all in certain situations based on what the actual need was from Vic Fangio. And losing Bryce Huff to me, especially for a hand surgery, that you don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know how quickly he's going to be able to jam up in front of on some right tackle to try to get around him. It is, to me, a significant blow. It's not necessarily the worst news in the world because now you get to see more Jalyx Hunt. You get to see more Nolan Smith. But you do lose a pass rusher and you become all the more thin at a position that if you have one more go down, I mean, you're starting to really kind of hold your breath that doesn't happen. So I think it's a big deal. I think wrist is something that doesn't happen a lot in the National Football League. We forget that these guys need their hands just as much as they need their legs. And I'm going to be very curious to see how they distribute his snaps now. Is it all Jalyx Hunt? Do they call someone up from the practice squad? Is Howie searching the waiver wire? I don't know. But maybe Nolan Smith just plays 68% versus 50 like he did in the Thursday win against the Commanders, solves all the issues,
Come
and we're
on now.
fine.
That's what I want to see. Who doesn't want to see Nolan Smith play more snaps? That's what I've been calling for forever. But yeah, it's Anthony saying edge 4 at this point. It's not the end of the world. Basically didn't play until the Eagles had a double-digit lead against Washington. I mean, it's fair. Yeah. I mean,
Right, but is that because he has been injured and they didn't want to push it, right? And he has a club,
maybe,
and the best thing he can do with a club is kind of, move it around instead of actually using his hands to manipulate, offensive tackles.
Yeah, it's hard to say because he was not getting snaps beforehand. And yes, another Thomas here saying, Josh looking up. I'm going to keep looking that direction because it feels natural. I'm going to try to stay like I'm actually looking at your eyes. But no, I mean, he was not getting a whole lot of snaps. He was playing better. I mean, obviously, from week 4 was the first time he actually got a tackle.
Yeah.
So it's not one of those where I'm like, again, I'm not freaking out about it. There's not a major concern. It's a little bit of a loss because you have a depth position, and especially if you suffer any injuries. And we're probably going to see, you would imagine, like a Teron Jackson, elevation for the game, just to have some depth on that side. Or what is it? I think David Anini is the other.
I believe so.
Practice squad. So one of those two. But it's hard to say. Will he be ready for the playoffs? I mean, okay.
Big if.
It would be awesome. Not that we're, I don't necessarily believe this, but it would be awesome if okay, hey, he's ready to go by playoff time, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, hey, he's markedly better because he was able to get a little bit of rest, recover, can use his hands. I don't know. I'm not necessarily buying into that, but it is a breath of fresh air. The fact that Nolan Smith, I mean, he's 15th in terms of edge rushers, like pass rush win rate, 15th in the NFL since the bye week, I believe is the official stat. I mean, we would take that at any point in time, especially because last year he was 129th. And so now being 15th, not a bad thing, obviously. And then, we get to see what Jalyx Hunt does.
Yeah. The other thing on Huff, though, too, is people are like, yes, he wasn't, doing anything. What a waste of $17 million. I'm glad he's not playing. I'd much rather my $17 million person be on the football field and playing with the potential to maybe figure things out. Like, what if it took 4 more weeks? And then he figured it out, got you 4.5 sacks by the end of the season. Sign me up for that versus him having a wrist injury and not being on the field. So I don't know. I don't know why I'm defending Bryce Huff today. I don't think Bryce Huff is some sort of magical great pass rusher. He's a terrible signing. They clearly overpaid. What exactly happened was, and we've mentioned this, Josh, is they thought that they could turn him into an every down pass rusher. They looked at the film. They talked to their scouting department. Vic Fangio probably had a say in it. They truly believed with an off season and a training camp in this organization, he could become an every down pass rusher, which if he became an every down pass rusher, they have a $17 million Hassan Reddick essentially, right? Which is pennies on the dollar of what Hassan Reddick actually wanted. And so that was the vision. That vision has failed 100%. Doesn't mean that he is the worst edge rusher in the entire National Football League. He clearly had some very, very short flashes during a couple of games the past couple of weeks. But I guess my stupidity, was hoping that he could actually, continue to kind of snowball down the hill as slight of an incline as it actually was, and maybe start producing for some games towards the end of the season. And now we don't get to see that chance. And then again, he's under contract for the next couple of years. There is absolutely no getting rid of Bryce Huff unless some team wants to trade for him, which is that ridiculous idea that the Jets would want him back or something like that. You are stuck with him. He needs to get as many reps as physically possible to potentially start to live up to the contract, which is a massive if, but it's all we have right now, and you have to go ahead and kind of, work with what you got.
You do, yes. Anthony says it sounds like you're going to be buying a Bryce Huff jersey.
No, I would not be. No, Anthony. No, I would not be doing that. I literally went on my live show today, and I was like, "This is big! Like, I cannot believe that this stinks." People were like, "It doesn't stink." I'm like, "Wait a second! Now I got to do 15 minutes of defending Bryce Huff, which I don't want to do because again, he's not that great." Also, I will say this: it's not like Nolan Smith has been light years better. He just actually has, contributed more snaps and given you more pressures, right? Doesn't mean that he's this much better. He's probably been that much better overall, which with how well Bryce Huff has played is a significant difference in our eyes. He's not been better than Josh Sweat. Sweat has been way better than Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith has been good, hopefully getting better. But I think that if Bryce Huff was healthy, you'd be seeing some similar production.
Okay.
You don't
Taking
believe
all
me?
that, well, I mean, you know who you're talking
I'm
to.
talking to
So,
Nolan
like, you're
Smith's
talking
biggest
about
fan here.
Nolan
Yeah,
Smith,
what am
but
I doing?
I still, like, you know,
I
as
should just say
objective,
that to the
I can't,
wall, you know?
maybe so. I can't maybe objectively say this, but as objectively as I can,
Sure.
I think Nolan Smith was playing
Yes.
light years
Good.
better than Bryce. I would make that. He was playing light
Right.
years better than Bryce Huff. But
Right, but we're comparing him to Bryce Huff. We're not. I mean, Josh Sweat has been light years better than Nolan Smith, in my opinion, over the past couple of weeks.
okay, well, we'd have to agree to disagree then.
All right, we rarely do, but
I
there
will
you
say
go.
Josh Sweat's been better than Nolan
Okay.
Smith, but no way at all light years better than
Okay.
Nolan.
All right.
I mean, Nolan's been. I mean, again, I'm gonna just I'll defend it regardless. But still, like you look at a lot of the plays that he's made, and Nolan in the run game too. It's not even like that's what Fangio was even saying in his press conference. He's like, we've got him for his athleticism and his speed, but you're seeing that power and that ability to stop the run too. Some of those plays, it's like. And again, Sweaty's had the pressures for sure. Like Nolan is not up to that level. He's been better, but it's like they offset what Nolan can do. Josh Sweat can't with his athleticism. Like when you talk about, hey, drop him into coverage, or you talk about trying to get to the edge and tackle a running quarterback or things like that.
Sure.
Like, Sweaty can't get there. So I mean, they have their pros and cons, but again, I don't want to take anything away from Sweaty. I agree with you. He's been played better. I just can't go as far and say he's light years above my guy. But again,
I guess we can at least both agree that more Jalyx Hunt is never a bad thing. We're all very excited about Jalyx Hunt. We heard a lot about Jalyx Hunt in training camp, and Jalyx Hunt has been. I mean, he's probably has less than 10 snaps on defense the entire season. If he has more, it's like 13, right? It's very, very low. I haven't seen the total snap count numbers just yet. But for instance, it's not necessarily like he's been out there a crazy amount of times. But there's been a couple of flashes, and late in that Giants game, famously got his first sack. I think that the sky is the limit for him, and maybe Bryce Huff being injured is a blessing in disguise to give you more Jalyx Hunt, and that way Vic Fangio can look at Jalyx Hunt and go, wow, he has been much better. Because think about how Fangio works, Josh, right? This is interesting. Vic Fangio said for weeks that Cooper DeJean was not ready to go, right? Remember, when Cooper DeJean was healthy, basically to start the season, and it was like, we cannot play Cooper DeJean. I will not play him over Vontae Maddox because he's not ready, right? And now whether or not that's because of what they saw in practice, and then eventually he did show in practice, or they needed to put him out there and it was like, oh, wait, he can hold his own. Maybe that's where we're sitting at with Jalyx Hunt, where it's like, okay, he doesn't look ready in practice. He doesn't look like he could give you 30 snaps in a football game and a Sunday nighter on the road against the Los Angeles Rams, one of the best offensive lines in football right now, sack-wise. But then he's forced to play, makes plays, and Fangio goes, oh, just like DeJean. Okay, give the guy some more reps, and then we're really cooking. So, who knows? I don't know. You don't know. But maybe Jalyx Hunt getting out there could prove to the coaching staff that he is worthy of more snaps in a way that you really can't do on a Wednesday during the season in practice, where if you hit anybody on the offensive line, they're going to freak out. So
for sure.
Hopefully that's the case.
Yes. Yeah. And again, you get to see then more the versatility. I saw a couple different comments earlier. It's totally true, but like what Bryce Huff can do versus Jalyx Hunt. Jalyx Hunt has more versatility. I don't think that there's many people that would argue that, again, because Jalyx played safety, right? So when you talk about you could drop him back in coverage, he looks very comfortable compared to most pass rushers that are doing that. Does he have the pass rushing moves yet? I don't know. We haven't seen a whole lot. He hasn't gotten those opportunities. He's a little bit raw, but still, there's Jeremiah says, I see a lot of Trent Cole and Jalyx Hunt. Is that because of the number, or is that because of the actual skill set? We want the skill set. We want to see that. We're
a little bit of both
for it, but
a little bit of both.
Yes. We should mention, bringing up Jalyx Hunt, I'll go ahead and put it on the screen as well, but the official injury report does have Jalyx Hunt.
Yeah, but this. Yeah,
so
he actually did not. He basically didn't practice today. It's going to show limited, right? But he was off to the side and did not actually participate in any sort of the Wednesday practice.
Right. It was actually officially a DNP, actually, is what they went ahead and listed.
So he was jogging, he was working out, but there was no actual practice to Jalyx Hunt today. Okay, so limited DNP. Basically the same thing today.
Yep. Yeah. So, and you have, again, Bryce Huff is an automatic. So DNP Bryce Huff, DNP Jalyx Hunt. We'll see what happens there. You also have Smitty with a hamstring, and then Milton Williams with a foot. Milton Williams is not a surprise, but Smitty's kind of like, maybe with a hamstring.
There's a video I saw from John Clark. John Clark's always in the in the tunnel as people walk off the field, and Smitty looked a little slow going off the football field, kind of that
Mhm.
in pain walk, if you will, right? You guys know what I'm talking about, and so I think he might be dealing with something that's not as serious as Jordan Mailata's or AJ Brown's hamstring was. It's something down there though. And maybe it's hindering a little bit. Now on the field, when you put the film on, it doesn't seem like he's slower or not getting out of his breaks as well. But I think Smitty is probably out of the list you showed here, someone that is probably like a day-to-day getting it worked on. Got to take a break on a Wednesday. He is by far nowhere close to 100% right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. As you said, I mean, the limping, John McMullen was even saying like alluding to or maybe leaning this direction, not saying it's official and that he's going to miss the LA game, but just like, is it
Right.
worth considering? And I guess we could throw this out there to the chat as well, but is it worth considering like, okay, Smitty, let's just throw out a number. Let's say that he's 70%, 65%.
Yeah.
You know, do we change that and say, okay, hey, let's go ahead and give you a rest, a break? I mean, Britton Covey opened up the practice window. He
Yeah.
might be, worth trying to do something. But again, you can't take any team for granted. So I don't think that it's also like, oh, we can just beat LA without Smitty, right? So I don't know. You go back and forth because then you have Baltimore. So I could see it where, sure, you could be okay if you don't play him. But I don't know. It'll be something worth monitoring, especially because, if you're already hamstring injury as it is, you got to fly all the way across country. I mean, a flight's hard enough, but if you're already dealing with some tightness, some soreness, a little strain.
Did we lose him? Might have just lost him. Or maybe I lost him. I don't know. Let's see.
Can you not see me? Hello? Do you still see me?
Oh, yep. I'm still here. There we go.
I'm
We're
still
back.
Here. Okay.
Yep. We
All
lost each other for a second there.
That's weird.
Yeah,
I could see
we're
you.
back.
I could see you and hear you, but
I could see you, but I couldn't actually hear you. You like completely froze.
Weird.
We're back though. And this begs the question.
Technical difficulties.
I know. Right off of what you said. Could Jahan Dotson, as A-Man just said, will Dotson step up though? Dotson was literally traded to be like if Smitty went down, just slide right in. Like he is literally supposed to be that guy, but absolutely no idea. That would be the theory though, right? If you needed to sit Smitty for a game, Dotson would take his routes. Covey would then be elevated to take the Dotson routes, and they would run a lot of, two tight end looks as well and run Calcaterra out there. So they have plenty of things, should be fine, not a problem. I will say, Josh, as we look forward to Sunday Night Football, this is a fascinating overall game, right? And all the headlines right now, Quin Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, the Eagles secondary versus the Rams offense. And rightfully so, right? We keep talking about how this team is the number one defense in the National Football League right now. I saw Dan Orlovsky on NFL Live today call them the number one secondary, which we've said for weeks in the National Football League. I do think the narrative's a little funny, Josh. It's like, well, this is the real big test for Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They've really not played anybody. And you're like, did they MarrChase? Didn't they just play CeeDee Lamb? Wasn't Terry McLaurin on like a Pro Bowl tear the past couple
apparently
of
not.
months? No. Now I get it. There's two of them, right? We haven't really. T. Higgins was out whenever he played the Bengals, and so you didn't get to see them both or whatever. I think they're ready. And Cooper Kupp is not, and again, I'm saying this with the most respect possible because Cooper Kupp is still very good. He is not prime Cooper Kupp, right? He has just left the prime where he's in that receiver category where he still has a couple of good years, really good years left, but the elite Cooper Kupp, the guy caught like 400 balls a year, it felt like, it's not there. Puka is a whole different animal. Puka Nacua is unbelievable. I feel really confident about this defense. I think that they can 100% lock them up. And if they do, what does this send in terms of a message to the rest of the National Football League, Josh, that this secondary, doesn't matter who you have, and Stafford, much better quarterback than Cooper Rush when you play a guy like CeeDee Lamb, it could be a real big statement for the entire world to see the full coming out party of this secondary on Sunday Night Football versus the Rams.
For real. Seriously. I mean, especially when you look at like one person, it's... You've played a number of receivers that are equal to or above what they're going to play in Puka or in Cooper Kupp. So it's like, as you mentioned, MarrChase, and I just love it because, it'd be like, oh, you beat the Bengals, they're trash. And and everybody said it because then, well, no, they're just talking about their defense. They're talking about the offense. They're talking about everything there. But you make that statement and it really doesn't matter. So I would say that, ultimately when it comes down to it, individually speaking, what they see from Cooper Kupp, what they see from Puka Nacua is not going to be any better than what they saw from a MarrChase I mean, Malik Neighbors is right up there. You could argue, rookie or whatever, but like crazy numbers from Malik
Good
Neighbors.
point.
Shut him down. A Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin when the Bucks were healthy. Now, did we get torched there? Sure, but they've played
Yeah.
against those levels, and Q did not. Like we could say, Slade not as good of a game, and overall the secondary. But I mean, Q from his standpoint of receivers that he's matched up against when he's had the opportunity, because I get that not every rep's Mike Evans, but even in the ones that he did, you say of all the guys in the secondary you're most comfortable on, it is Q. Who are we going to shut down? Like who are we going to eliminate from the ball game?
You've frozen again on my side, by the way. Just FYI.
Okay.
We'll see if you come back.
All right. Can you hear me though?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. All sorts of technical difficulties tonight.
All right. I'm seeing. I think people are saying that they can see it, but you can hear me though, or
We'll
can you hear me?
You gonna come
Or
back?
not see me? Oh wow. I don't know what the deal is. I can see you and hear you. I will say that. Can see you and hear you. The chat, I believe, can hear me and see me. Anthony's texting me and can see me and hear me. Maybe it's Thomas's connection. See, now Thomas is froze. Wait, maybe he's coming back. Let's see.
See,
There we
it
go.
shows you as frozen on my end. That's what happens. I was just watching the stream on YouTube, and like we're both fine, but it shows you on my screen completely silent and frozen.
Weird. Okay. Well, hopefully
it's fine.
Anyway,
finish your thought, please.
It's hard whenever we're trying to make this happen. We've got not only the camera and obviously connection issues, I guess. So anyway, no, I was just saying, like, individually, if you want to say who you're going to shut down, you put Q on him and say, good luck, because like he's been that good. So I don't know, try to keep it up. But
the other part about this matchup too, Josh, which no one is talking about right now, is the fact the Rams have the second best offensive line in terms of sacks. Like, they do not give up sacks. I think it's a league low 21 overall this season.
Mm-hmm.
They do not let Matt Stafford go to the ground when he has the football. Now, Matt Stafford's gotten some hits. That has definitely happened, but it's not necessarily the case that they are getting him onto the ground. And we talk about the pass rush, Bryce Huff or not, this pass rush leads the league in sacks since the bye week. I mean, since week 6, they have been getting after the quarterback at an incredible rate right now. 11 sacks the past couple of games. Excuse me. Another great test for this defense to further confirm what I think most of us know. Now, Philadelphia's defense, Josh, has had drives. We talk about the Commanders game. They've had drives where they have given up yards, they've given up touchdowns. But the big difference between this year's defense and last year's difference from a macro standpoint is the fact that they can make adjustments, and they will go from giving up a 70-yard touchdown drive in the opening series for the Commanders, and then completely locking down Jane Daniels. Brian Robinson did nothing for the rest of that football game, and they dominated. I mean, they truly dominated the Washington Commanders, and it should have been basically a 10-point game besides the garbage time 8 points to Zach Ertz. And so that is going to be fun to show the rest of the world, because the Rams are a good football team. The Rams are not a great football team right now, Josh. I mean, they are a mediocre wild card level team in terms of what they've done this season. They've had some really bad losses. They've had some pretty impressive wins. When you talk about juggernauts, they're not there. I mean, the defense, again, it's really been decimated in terms of the players that we all remember when the Rams were winning Super Bowls. Jared Verse is an incredible player. You get a matchup between the top 2 Defensive Rookie of the Year people. Besides that, though, they're definitely not at the household name level that they once were. Not saying they're bad, they're still very good, but they should be a football team that Philadelphia wins, and they should be able to win it pretty handily. It's going to more come down to the offense, in my opinion, than this Bird defense, making sure they can continue to move the football, get a little bit more consistent, because as Jalen Hurts talked about it today, and of course Sirianni and Kellen Moore did the past couple of days, the one issue that seems to kind of linger is the slow starts. We did see that for a little bit of a time versus the Commanders.
Yeah, and I pulled up the stat there from the man himself, Anthony DeBono. We appreciate that. But talking about the pass rush, and it should be a really good opportunity for the Eagles, because you see the Eagles record the 4th fastest average time to pressure in the league, and the Rams have allowed the fastest pressure in the league. So, I mean, they're going to have opportunities, and even if it's not sacking Matt Stafford, it's going to be in his face there to opportunity. So, like, when we talk about, is Q going to get his first interception? Could Kupp maybe get his first interception? I think defensively,
we keep saying that.
I'm right there with you, though, of like, I've got a lot of confidence in this defense, and it's week in and week out. Yes, you want to continue to have them prove it, but we're beyond the point of like, oh, well, they haven't played anybody. We're beyond it, because you could say holistically with a team, sure, if you want to tell me that the Bengals are not a good team, fine. but don't tell me they're not a not good offense. Like Joe Burrow is
Right.
playing at historic level right now. Like he's right up there at the very top of the
Yeah.
league in terms of QB rating, in terms of his accuracy, in terms of touchdowns to interception ratio. He's playing really well, and so they have weapons. You've seen that, but the Philly was able to shut them down. Same thing for the Commanders, and then you have Commies fans that are wanting to say like, oh, but Jaden Daniels is actually more
He
injured
was
than what
hurt.
we thought, and even though Dan Quinn said he was okay, but no,
Sure.
Jaden
Sure.
Daniels a lot more injured. So
The
yeah.
the other part of this matchup, Josh, is the Sean McVay part. I mean, Sean McVay has never beaten the Philadelphia Eagles since he took over coaching of the LA Rams. I mean, you go back to that Nick Foles kind of fill-in game versus the Rams when Carson Wentz got hurt. That was obviously a Sean McVay loss. The following year was the exact same case in 2018. They go back to LA. Nick Foles beats him again, kind of a must-win game for Philadelphia. And then, of course, Jalen Hurts just last year. I mean, we went to the Rams, probably one of the better final games we played that year where they looked
Mhm.
convincingly good. AJ Brown had a massive day. The pink shoes were a big storyline in that one. I think Sean McVay is going to come with a little extra in this game, knowing that the Eagles have been his problem. It's really been his Achilles heel in the NFC. He's played well, beaten basically every single NFC team that's been good throughout his tenure in Los Angeles. He cannot beat the Philadelphia Eagles on a consistent basis. And so it's going to be a very, very interesting matchup for not only the Bird defense versus, of course, Matt Stafford and Puka Nacua and all the rest of them there. Kyron Williams, a very fantastic running back. But how Sean McVay wants to call this defense or call this offense against a defense that, at least in Vic Fangio, he struggled against in a couple of times they played as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the matchups there. As you said, Sean McVay is going to throw the kitchen sink at
Yeah.
this defense to try to see what they could get, but he doesn't have a great track record against Vic Fangio. And he said, I think multiple times publicly, like, who's the most difficult to prep and plan on? And it's a Vic Fangio defense because it's
Yeah.
you see one thing, but you're getting a different one. And no matter how much you prep for it, I mean, how many times are we coming away from these different games and going, like, wow, Fangio didn't run quarters at all, and except for, but then against Washington, ran a lot of quarters coverage. Like, it's just changing things up. And so the difference of, we saw a Desai or a Matt Patricia last year was like, yeah, because it's a flavor of a Fangio defense does not mean it's the actual thing. And so we're seeing the difference there of not only the players executing it well, you having the better playmakers to be able to do that,
Yeah.
but also the understanding, and you're seeing these guys continue to get better and better at it each week. I think the thing that I would point to most that got me as excited on the defensive side too is like Fangio saying, you're seeing these young guys believe in it now. Like he was like before
Yeah.
they would come to him and basically ask like, well, why this, why that? Or, oh, I can't do that. That's too hard. And then he's like, yeah, but now multiple weeks later, I see him do something. And I say, you remember when you said you couldn't do that, or that was going to be really difficult? Well, now
Yep.
it's coming to you. And so this defense,
Yep.
again, it's like, there's not concerns, and it feels like the offense, I took a little bit of, I don't know, flack for saying this, and I'm not saying that they're struggling, but I was like, there's some inconsistency, and some
Oh,
people are
yeah.
like, oh, you kidding? Like, no, we scored, and they just list out how many points were scored. But if you watch it, there is inconsistency. There's some struggles. There's some why
Yep.
on earth does it take till the fourth quarter to score a touchdown, right? Like we've seen some of these things, but the offense feels like they're on the verge of becoming great or being great consistently. And if that happens, that's what will, I think, for me, tip it over the scales of a juggernaut contender. Because right now there's some things where, oh, could they beat Detroit? And I know it's a lot further down the road. You got to take care of business first. But
Yeah.
you would love to see it on a primetime matchup on the perfect stage, because you're going to be against LA in a great matchup there and something to prove, right? You will hopefully shut down the Rams pass rush because they've got some youth, but they got guys that can get after the pass rusher. We saw it against the Miami game for sure whenever they were getting after Tua. So make a statement offensively. Yes, you want to run the football, but I think teams are going to continue to try to skew towards that side and make Jalen beat you by throwing the football. And he can do it. He can certainly do it. We've seen it.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just offensively, we're going to start seeing some of these adjustments. And Sunday night should be great because I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
it.
I think Lane Johnson said today during his press conference, they're expecting teams to start really throwing the kitchen sink at the run game.
Mhm.
They're expecting football teams, and they've tried. It's not like teams haven't been worried about Saquon Barkley, but the remainder of this year, every defense that plays Philadelphia, in Lane Johnson's words, are gonna do everything they can to make Philadelphia throw, right? Which is the pick your poison that we wanted at the beginning of the season, right? You load the
For sure.
box. Hey, AJ Brown has man to man. Devontae Smith has man to man. Goddard man to man. Come on, vice versa. And then Saquon, scores as he does. And the funny thing is that, it's like, okay, they're going to start focusing on Saquon Barkley. You don't think in the fourth quarter against the Commanders, they didn't know they were going to be running Saquon Barkley? They already had a lead, right? It's obviously what the Eagles were going to do,
Yeah.
and they still
It's a
couldn't stop
given.
it. So best of luck, but at least Philadelphia knows, right? They know what's coming. They just seem so focused, Josh. And something that we haven't talked about a lot because we just kind of taken it for granted now as Eagle fans. All we kept saying last year was, man, imagine if this team had like some discipline. Like imagine if we had like a no-nonsense coach who
Mhm.
just said it as it was and just got them working. And it was just, let's focus, focus, focus. And then we hired Vic Fangio, and it was like, let's hope that happens. It's happened. I mean, all of them rave about Vic Fangio, but all of them still, I think it was Zach Bond on Good Morning Football today said,
Yeah.
he doesn't give out a lot of praises. He's like, you're supposed to be doing your job and you did it. Good job. Move on. So I think you're finally getting a football team that has been starving for leadership, starving for coaches that really just care about playing good football and not caring about everything else that comes with being in the National Football League, and this team has embraced it. And I think Kellen Moore has a lot of this too, because you watch Kellen Moore's press conference, which you and I watch every single week for our shows because
Mhm.
we have to, right? Kellen Moore also is no nonsense. Kellen Moore hates press conferences. He's quick. He's concise. He's like in and out. The only person on this team that talks long to the media is Nick Sirianni because he rambled for so darn long. But this football team is really starting to, I think, obviously gel. Obviously, the vibes are high, but it starts with those two coordinator hires that I think have really gotten all the nonsense out of the building and gotten them just focused on football. And this is the result. It's a good roster, as we've been saying the past couple of years, and it got even better with the draft picks and the coaching staff.
It's insane. I don't think we've said it a number of times, but I won't get used to it of what this team is now and how quick of a turnaround. But it's credit to not only yes the draft, but how he alluded to, hey, get younger, be able to lean on those types of players. But you said it there. I mean, the coaches and the coordinators being able to teach this and guys being able to pick it up as quick as they are. Bobby King, shout out to him. You've got definitely within the secondary as well. I mean, the different coaches and scheme and Christian Parker, what he's turned into the secondary. It speaks for itself, but you see what rookies can do and the impact that quickly. By the way, Carson says we need to start a GoFundMe for Josh's new camera. I got the camera. There's connection.
Yeah, you got
issues
the new
still now.
camera.
So thankfully,
Did you tell
we're
people
halfway
what
there.
happened to the camera?
I did on
explain?
the last live stream.
Okay,
There
good.
may be some that didn't. Basically, long story short, dog knocked it over, and
Dogs, man.
he's still alive, but it was his fault. We got the new camera, thankfully, but now there's some sort of other connection issue. It
Yeah,
was
it's a
working
connection
right
issue
before
for
this,
sure.
and now
Yeah.
it wasn't as we went to go live. So,
Hot
yeah.
take. I think Ecamm's got some issues right now with the new Mac update. I know that most people have no idea what we're talking about. I think Ecamm's
Yeah.
got some problems, but also Blagden just saying how long is Huff out? The only update we got was Zach Berman saying he thinks they'll be back before the end of the year, Josh. But I was saying this during my live when I broke it down today this afternoon. The final two games are Dallas and the Giants, right? Those two games could be 100% meaningless for sure in the division, right? They
Mhm.
should be for sure in the division. Obviously, you got to see what happens with the Lions, but the NFC North, I think, will cannibalize itself a little bit, right? Those two games
Hopefully.
could not matter. And if they don't matter, are you playing Bryce Huff? That's going to be the real question as we get closer to the end of the season. Because if he's 90% week 17, but there's still concern about the wrist and, pushing people and
Mhm.
getting off of blocks and stuff, they could wait him and sit him until the playoffs, which would be 4 weeks after week 17 because of the bye week. So
That's
the
true.
expectation is the end of the season. At the end of the season, though, the way the NFL builds these, it's all divisional games to close out. The final two are against two football teams that will be playing for nothing and wanting to lose to get higher draft picks, especially, really both, but especially the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see because, like, part of me would say if he's healthy enough to go, even though it's a meaningless football game, to put him out there because if it doesn't
Sure.
matter, then
Sure.
not that we don't need him again, but that means you've played well enough with the guys that you do have. So I would say, you know what, throw him out there, get the rust off, so that then he's hopefully much better to go in the playoffs. But yeah, it'll be a go back and forth on that because you still never know with the injuries on that. Couple super chats here. Get to these. Also, shout out to Shane L. Welcome to the Let's Run It membership tier. I think, Shane, you've already been there before, but welcome back, I believe.
Welcome back.
Thank
Welcome
you, Shane.
back.
Also, Worf with a 5 said, did y'all see Quinyon Mitchell officially says that he likes the Guantanamo Bay nickname? I did see that. The struggle that I have, because I think a lot of people can relate to this. When you type in Quinyon to like tweet it, it immediately says Quentin. So the issue becomes, I saw one tweet from Dave Zangaro that said Quintonimo with a T, but then I saw
I watched the
ESP
video.
say Quinionimo. So okay,
It
video
was
wise,
Quintonimo. The
okay,
video I
okay,
saw,
officially,
whoever asked the question said Quintonimo Bay.
okay.
Well, I'm 90% sure that's right. I could be wrong, but yeah, because I saw
You're
both.
leaving
Right,
me
I was
with
like
a little bit of doubt.
Quinyanimo. No one's saying Quinyanimo.
I
That's
hadn't heard
dumb.
that either, but I saw a tweet and I
But
was like, wait a
the
minute, is it the with the
video I
Y?
think has Quintonimo Bay. So
Okay,
for
okay.
those wondering,
There we go. But either way,
lock
the
them
fact that
down.
he's seeing those things and he's
He's seeing
recognizing
them.
it. So you gotta love that. Little nickname. Never well, I guess it can be, but in this case, certainly a really good thing. Devontae with a 10 says we need Jalen to get comfortable in the pocket, and the best way I think he can get better is drop back a few more steps to see the field more. And also we gotta have more routes in the middle of the field.
Yeah, middle of the field stuff is still interesting. It's better than it was last year. Fran Duffy had a great breakdown that I from PHOY I threw on my show yesterday, kind of showing
Mm-hmm.
that they're running routes across the middle. Hertz is not necessarily pulling the trigger. I will say that early miss on that crosser that everyone is really ripping Hertz for, that Smitty was wide open. There's a safety coming down like right at Devontae Smith. And maybe Hertz thought, if I throw this to Smith, he's going to get killed. Like, he's going to get absolutely blindsided by this safety. And maybe that's why he pulled it down. Now, he's missed a couple of other throws, so it's not like he's been perfect but minus that one instance. But
Right.
I don't think it's been terrible. It is probably the main area of the offense that's got to improve a little bit more. They need to be more lethal across the middle. They were very lethal against the Rams, week 5 or whatever it was last year. That was one of the big ways that they beat the LA Rams, was A.J. Brown across the middle. More of that on Sunday night, to me, is the one thing that's missing. It's like, get this offense across the middle and really threatening people in that area of the football field, and they can be even more lethal.
Yeah, it's I saw the same thing too, but it's probably a little bit nitpicking because
It definitely
we're talking
is.
about an
Yeah.
offense that's 5th in the NFL, like ranked 5th
Yeah.
in the NFL. But
Right.
we still all see it, and sometimes we're going to be micromanaging or micro focused on a team that we got a lot vested in here. But
Yeah.
I think they're going to be okay. Slowly but surely get a little bit better. They're going to have Devontae Smith hopefully get healthy. You wonder with the hamstring what they're going to do there. Last thing that I'll pull up here too is just with the play action rates. And I saw this graphic here as well, just the difference between weeks 1 through 7 and 8 through 11. But you see that the Eagles were about 20% play action weeks 1 through 7, but then the last weeks through 8 through 11 been almost 35, like 30. I think it's like 33, 34%. So a drastic difference in play action, and the most successful play that they've had has been first down play action. I mean, that's with a given across the board, the entire NFL. Now, the one team out there that we would say is the juggernaut in the league that no one refutes is the Detroit Lions, and you see they were through the roof play action weeks 1 through 7, and they've gotten even higher now weeks 8 through 11. So if you've got a rushing attack like we do, and teams are going to gear for it, they're going to say, all right, we're going to stop you on the run. Play action the dog out of this game plan. You do it every single time you get a chance against LA, against Baltimore, until teams are not biting for it. But make the safeties come down. You open the bigger shots up, and then also the middle of the field, like Devontae was mentioning. You play action, middle of the field's open, you throw behind it. How many times you looked over at me on, I think, the slant to AJ during the Commanders game? You're like, I don't know why we don't do that more often. Like, it works every single time. It's
Every
just like
time.
you go
It
2
never
quarters without a
doesn't.
single throw, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, remember that? That's really nice. You should be running that
Yeah.
play.
I know. I don't know if they just want to protect his body, don't want to get hurt. He got hurt on a slant with the ankle injury against the Giants last year. Who knows? But it does work every single time. 60% of the time, it works every
works
single
every
time.
time.
And it's because AJ is so big and so physical, and if you stood next to him like you and I have, he's just a powerful human being, and he basically boxes out the corners. And most corners are very small in the National Football League. Sauce Gardner is a great example. He's lengthy, but he's small, right? He's not going to go through to A.J. Brown's body to get to the football. And A.J. knows that. He boxes him out. And if it's a little bit thrown behind him, or if there's a linebacker coming his way, he just stops, bodies it, goes down, and he's fine. So, Yeah, I mean, I would run it more, but what do I know, right? I don't know anything. So it's what it is.
We've seen it enough to know. Come on, throw it over the middle of the field. The
Yeah.
analytics say it, the numbers say it, the eye test says it, everything else. But no, it's good. I'm interested. I'm excited to see the matchup for the Rams. By the way, I should plug this as well. Justin Pugh apologized that he could not make it. I know I teased it on last night's live stream, saying that he might hop on.
We lied.
We did. No, well,
but we didn't lie.
Not really. I won't throw him completely under the bus, but Justin Pugh should be with us hanging out for the Sunday Night Football game stream. So for those that are, regular OGs and come hang out with us, we can get a little extra breakdown from a former
it's like the Manning
offensive
cast.
NFL lineman.
We have guests coming now.
Yeah,
It's
we
pretty
should
fun.
maybe keep lining this thing up. We never
Yeah.
know. So
Never know.
but yeah, swing by there and Justin should be hanging out.
Cool. I'm excited.
All right. Well, anything else here? I think we're gonna cut it off a little bit because it's later, and I was late for all of us. But any last second? I guess score predict. We didn't go official score predictions. Should we wrap up with the
I haven't thought about that. Yeah, hang on. Let me just do. I gotta see.
I can get the total spread too. I need to look at what the official numbers are.
I was just looking at the Rams' past couple of games, right? The Rams have started to figure things out. Their defense has started to play better. The problem is they haven't faced a really great offense in a while, right? And the last great offense that they faced was the Vikings. But the Vikings on that Thursday nighter with the no face mask call, the Vikings to me were kind of exposed there, right? I didn't feel like the Rams were that much better. It was like, oh, Sam Darnold is not the league MVP like people were claiming him to be. But previously they lost to the Packers, they lost to the Bears, they got 41 of the Arizona Cardinals in week 2. I told Justin Pugh in his YouTube video when I hung out with him at the Eagle game that Philly was going to roll. I think Philly might roll in this one. I don't want to keep saying it because 7 wins in a row is nuts, and maybe they struggle at some point, and they obviously will. I mean, they're not going to be perfect, but I think they get to 30. They should have gotten a 30 last week. Now Jake Elliott's to kick inside a dome, which is nice, and so I'll go 34-23. I'll give the Rams a couple of points, but this Eagle defense, 23 has given them quite the little extra boost there. It might not even get that high.
Okay, all right. Well, the total is 49. So you're going with the over,
okay, so I'd be over.
It's I like the point spread there. I'm going to say 27-20. I'm going to say Eagles win 27-20, a little bit lower scoring, not quite the 30, but I think it might be a little bit of a I don't know, necessarily back off the gas a little bit towards the end, or let off the gas. But yeah, we'll go 27-20. That's what I'm going to say. I'm seeing lots of other predictions here. Everybody else, let us know as well in the comments. John, he said later, come to the East Coast. Well, I'm referencing Thomas here because I kept Thomas up way later than normal. You guys know I'd go to 2 a.m. I'm a night owl.
Yeah, you'll grind
Thomas
forever.
is a morning person.
I am not.
But
I am not.
Bedtime. It's the good blend. So it's
worst part about living on the East Coast. I hate the time on the East Coast is always brutal, but
that's what was shocking to me about the Commanders game. That's why I was like, oh yeah, the 8:15 kickoff time. It's just like, my gosh, this thing is a little bit later. So
it's late. Yeah.
That was a blast though. Shout out again to Ron for the ticket hookup. That was
huge.
A blast. That was unbelievable. So but we will see. We appreciate everybody hanging out. As always, the Wednesday link. The camera should hopefully be fixed. Fingers crossed, prayers that by the game stream, I think we can get it figured out. But Thomas Mott, I'm Josh Davis. This has been the Wednesday Link. You guys know what it is. Go Birds.
Go Birds. See you guys.